There is absolute outrage on the internet that this is the first Triple H L, that this, the worst booking decision ever, that, of course, Drew McIntyre won the Money in the Bank, he cashed it in the same night, and he lost. Everybody's saying, the CM Punk storyline didn't need it, it was already a good storyline. Yes, but this has added even more stakes. It has also begun to re-advance, to go back to the CM Punk versus Seth Rollins feud as well. It's planting the seeds for that. But more importantly than any of this, we've just had a men's single competitor hold the Money in the Bank briefcase for nearly a year and then successfully cash it in. For the Money in the Bank to, be really suspenseful, there needs to be some failed cash-ins, right? Every now and then you need one. And they needed one this year in the men's division. And also, if they just dragged out the Money in the Bank briefcase once again, it would have felt the exact same, right? This advanced 2 storylines. People are saying Jey Uso should have won it. No, he shouldn't have. They're about to tell the biggest story in professional wrestling with the Usos together against this new bloodline, right? Now, that's what they're about to do. People are thinking so short-term here. Sorry to, burst your bubble, everybody, but Jey Uso is not going to be a main event star, right? I love Jey Uso, but he's going to be back in the Usos in no time. I say he's not going to be a main event star. The Usos on this run are going to be a main event tag team. They're going to be main event in PLEs as a tag team, right? They'll be huge deals. But the fact of the matter is, Jey Uso was never winning this, right? I don't understand the argument to begin with. Nobody else in the match I think it would have particularly worked for, and I think it made sense. I don't just think it was a good booking decision, I think it was a genius one, and that is my take on it. David, I want to get your thoughts out the gates.
Well, look, I was negative on it when it happened, for the same reason a lot of people have said. I felt like it was a waste of a contract. I've calmed down that opinion now, and I've thought about it, and I've got, I've sort of gone through it all, and I've processed it. So here's what I'll say. It was an effective angle. It did its job very well. And I think that ultimately for that story, it was a good decision to do it. I think what comes down to with Money in the Bank is, how do you like your Money in the Bank used? I like my Money in the Bank as an opportunity to build somebody up. I don't think this built Drew up. I don't think this built Seth up. I built the feud up, but none of them needed it. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. Not in this story. It wasn't. But the men's Money in the Bank is gone now. That is typically a very important tool. That you've used it, which is fine. So then you've got to think of other ways to build up new names, because otherwise, say what you want, we wouldn't have got a main event Damian Priest without Money in the Bank. I don't think. And so yeah, I'm quite fascinated by this, and I think I didn't agree with it at the time. I've softened on that opinion now, and I think it was an effective booking decision for that story to build into the SummerSlam match. Would I have rather the briefcase be used differently? Yes. Can I complain with the route they went with for the particular set of circumstances they had? No, I don't think I can. So next year, I'd like to see them go back to building somebody up. They're going to do it with Tiffany, and because they're doing it with Tiffany, I'm willing to forgive it some. Yeah, I think than I would if they'd have given it to Io Sky again.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's the fact we've had it for one, I think, makes it work. But next year, it works this year. Next year.
I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. To answer what you said about, it building young stars, that I completely agree with. But like I said, for it to be suspenseful and to be unpredictable, you need to have some failed cash-ins. If a younger star wins and then fails to cash it in, not only does it not build them, it actually buries them to an extent, right? We know the massive damage it did to Baron Corbin at the time when he wanted to fail to cash it in.
Austin Theory or something? It was like a city name.
Austin Theory as well, but I think he was just hurt in general. But you are right about that, Clark. But Shad, I want to get your perspective on all this. Do you think it was the wrong choice, or are fans overreacting as they always do?
I think it was the wrong choice. I give it time, and I understand the direction for it, right? CM Punk and Drew McIntyre is the hot feud right now going into the summer. This is kind of the Tom and Jerry-esque games, right? Where they're going back and forth and he's trapping Drew. And I know that a lot of people are saying, well, Seth is also tied to it as well. I get it, and I understand the story, but did the story need that to boost it more? Because I think the story was a pretty hot commodity. I think Punk could have even messed him over in the match, and it would have been the same effective nature. I think the briefcase, it is a waste. I mean, you as the WWE need to create new stars for the future, and you need to create viable competitors to win world championships. You had an opportunity to do that. You had a young guy like a Carmelo Hayes, you had a Jey Uso, you had a Chad Gable. That could have boosted them and give them an opportunity to become world heavyweight champion, universal champion, whatever it may be. And now you kind of take it away, and it puts people back in a holding pattern because how does Chad Gable get to there? How does Jey Uso get to there? How does Carmelo Hayes get to there? It's kind of you wait back in the line where you give them the briefcase. It's made for that. And I understand it. Not every cash-in has to be successful. But to Clark's point, look what it did to Austin Theory. It completely threw him in the dirt. Like, he hasn't been able to recover from that. Baron Corbin is the same case. It's not going to affect Drew because Drew is tied to the storyline. I get that. But it is a waste of something that could boost a potential superstar on the rising, and you got to weigh that out. To me, I feel like I weigh the value of it boosting the superstar more than just building a storyline that's already hot, right? I don't think it added any more flair to my interest because I'm already interested in it. I know that they hate each other and they're trying to get one over each other, but for the sake of that briefcase, I don't think it was necessary. And I don't know if the Seth thing is that relevant towards it. Maybe they do a triple threat match. I don't know. But I feel like it was a waste. I would have booked it another direction. I don't think it was like it's the end of the world, but I do think it was a waste.
But what you said is exactly why I think it's genius, right? All these other failed cash-ins, right? All of them have ruined the star. This won't affect anybody, and it will have advanced the storyline. Is it as beneficial as building a star? It absolutely isn't, right? There's zero doubt about that. But they literally just built Damian Priest. And you've got, like I keep saying, you've got to have a failed cash-in every few years to make it continue feeling unpredictable, right? This didn't just advance a storyline, but it also built the Money in the Bank briefcase as something which, it's not a guaranteed shot. If you're stupid with it, people can stop you from cashing in. So now next year, or even just now with Tiffany Stratton, we'll be on our toes a bit more about whether or not the cash-in will be successful, but it didn't hurt Drew, and it did advance a storyline. Now, I do agree there's people it could build. Carmelo Hayes is one of them, but hey, so is Tiffany Stratton, and Tiffany Stratton won and still has it. That is my defense. But Clark, I'd love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, so I agree with a lot of what Shad just said there. And I think my big problem is not with the wrestlers. And I understand where you're coming from on some of the stuff you said, Ben, but look, this was stat padding for a guy that's already got a really good, you're calling them CVs over in the UK, right? We call them resumes. He's already got a pretty dang good one. This was stat padding. Oh, former Money in the Bank winner, Drew McIntyre. Standing tall on SmackDown, it goes back to that. It doesn't make sense, right? It's too obvious. Don't telegraph it to me. I don't show up to pro wrestling to get spoon fed. I show up to pro wrestling to be surprised, to be shocked, to have fun with who wins and what happens. As soon as he won that opening match, card placement is the issue here. It's not about in execution from a narrative standpoint. Ben, you're absolutely correct. This is a card placement issue. Because as soon as he wins that match, what do we know is happening? As soon as that world title match bell rings between Seth Rollins and Damian Priest, we know exactly when that music's going to hit. Not exactly, I guess, apparently. Maybe someone didn't, I don't know, on that old Falcon Arrow spot. But most of us are aware of the fact that Drew McIntyre is stomping down that ramp tonight. And they told a story in that sense, but they told a predictable story. And that's my issue with this. They told a predictable story. If it felt organic, if it felt like, honestly, there's one more just little thing they could have done to sort of put a blanket on it and make it way better. And that's convince us CM Punk is not in Canada. Convince us there is no way he's there. Then you play it out the same way and it's all good. But make us believe for the week or two prior that CM Punk is not and will not be in Toronto. He can't be. He won't be. There's no way. Oh, and then it's a real surprise. But and that's not, I'm not even blaming dirt sheets. They didn't say anything about it. Of course, CM Punk's going to show up in Canada if you know his character. But if you add that layer to the story of he won't be there, it makes the moment matter more. And it makes it more important to the entire story as a whole. Throwing in also the Seth Rollins aspect. That's the original storyline we wanted. And with the injuries, this is just a tease. The big story is Punk and Drew. Keep him out of this. We didn't need that story advanced.
Foreshadowing. It's like
That
in a
story
TV
is
show.
on the back burner.
I have a
But
question.
foreshadow it now.
But if you're asking me which match I'm more excited for, it's Punk and Seth over Punk and Drew. And that's no knock
Most
on
would
Drew.
disagree.
That's the original match, because if you look at Seth's reaction when they hit that dang music in the Allstate Arena, and I'm from Chicago, so it's a little different. Both are Bears fans. Iowa is real close to Chicago geographically if you look at it on a map. Seth Rollins is a Chicago sports fan. He's got Chicago ties as well, and so that one is more enticing to me. It's a distraction in my eyes to the Punk and Drew rivalry. That's the point I'm trying to make when it comes to that.
I mean, since Triple H has taken over, he's done a lot of this where they foreshadow later feuds, and I absolutely love it, right? But I do agree with your point. It did feel predictable on the night. Now, I agree with that, right? But that's not specifically the argument here, but I agree with it. Perhaps, they could have made it... Perhaps they... Well, this is a joke.
Gave it to Jey Uso. He could have even failed to cash in with the bloodline down the road. That would have even
and
been
then that would have killed Jey Uso. Drew McIntyre's been there, done that, so it won't hurt him. But the thing about it is, right, you are right, Clark. It was predictable once it started. You are dead right with that. Maybe they could have done it at SummerSlam, where it doesn't happen at Money in the Bank. It's third on the card. People are expecting it to. Doesn't happen, and then it does happen at SummerSlam. But if the plan is Punk McIntyre at SummerSlam, then obviously you can't do that.
The problem is Drew said he would.
Yeah.
Drew said,
that's true.
Drew said,
He
Drew said, I'm going
announced
to win
that he
Money in the
would.
Bank, and I'm going to cash it in this match, which actually made for quite a good story in the match itself.
It did.
Of both of them looking up the ramp,
they
going,
did
when's
tell
he
that
coming?
well.
I think that actually might have been more interesting if Drew didn't cash in. And he just went, see the power I've got over you. But equally, he's lost his mind.
That means
Actually, I've got to be honest.
I'm going to have to
I've got to
wrap
be-
up,
the more-
unfortunately.
Sorry,
but
the more we're going on, the more I'm agreeing with you, Ben.
okay. A 180 is happening. Get in. But in all seriousness,
Team
I don't.
America,
This
Clark.
Yes.
is America versus UK. Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk. Even better storytelling. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Clark. Thanks, David. Thanks, Sean. We will see you then. Peace.